Hey YouTube, I just wanted to talk about the Wisconsin recount, and just to show you, the Clinton-Kaine ticket has gained 82 more votes than the Trump-Pence ticket. In hard numbers, that's 410 extra votes for Trump and Pence, 492 extra votes for Clinton and Kaine. These go up and down depending on, you know, different counties and different issues. So, but anyways, this recon costed 3.5 million dollars, and this is the result so far. And so Trump Pence originally led by over 22,000 votes. So they're and it's still a lead of over 22,000. So they haven't even dented it. And this is with 70% of the votes completed after 7 days of recounts. So by the sounds of it, there's only one. Well, there's one major area left, and that's the city of Milwaukee, um, which is it went 2/3 for Hillary. And on one hand, you say, well, there's potentially a lot of votes there for her if they can find some. But on the other hand, this is an area that already went heavy for her. So um, she already got a lot of her votes counted. So anyways, if Trump could, for instance, if there was some sort of mistake where Hillary's votes were being counted for Trump or something like that, and then there would be a lot more votes to be gained if it was a Trump area. So, but yeah, there's so far, not much to see here. There haven't been like major issues to put the recount in question. Um, and some of the lawmakers are saying this is a delay tactic, but this article is saying that everything's on pace to be done by the deadline. So everything's going as it should. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, since I don't have much more to add in the Wisconsin recount, is the Pizzagate. And some of you may have heard about the Pizzagate issue. It's basically when WikiLeaks released a bunch of emails of John Podesta's, who is the campaign chair of uh, Hillary Clinton. There was a lot of like weird talk about the like obvious code language, such as pizza and hot dogs and things like that. Most of it that people found weird was revolving around cheese pizza, though, and there's pasta and stuff like that too. So all these different foods, and some hypothesized that it was a pedophilia code, and we've seen pedophilia among the elites in many countries. In Norway, some politicians were just arrested just a couple weeks ago. We've seen, in the UK in 2013, I think it was, BBC in 2012. Though I think those were like separate, and then in the 80s there was one in the UK, and not too long ago, in the US there was the Joe Epstein case. So eh, it's reasonable to think that even though they arrested him, some of the sex ring remained. And Joe Epstein had his own private island. But it's important to note that these are all allegations, and that like Pizzagate's actually about, it's not even about accusing people, it's about finding evidence and of connections, and putting it all together and trying to hold the FBI and Department of Justice accountable to get them to investigate this stuff seriously. And if the masses stay involved, you know if going a little conspiracy theorist, but there have been a lot of people who've turned up dead around the Clintons when they had bad things to say. And it's all coincidental, of course, and none of it ever ties back to Clinton, but a lot of people think that there's something nefarious going on. And so there's protection in numbers so that if they did happen to kill off someone or silence someone, it would only make the movement bigger. And so I think it's important that we all get involved and take this seriously because there is a lot of evidence. And I'm not here to go through all of the evidence. That's not what this is about. But, uh, you know, I wanted to bring up the men's rights perspective on this because it's really complicated for men's rights activists like myself. On one hand, we want to protect potential victims. If they're especially if there are boys that could be involved in this, that are being abused or killed or whatever. We want some sort of investigation to make sure that's not happening. And on the other hand, we're worried about false allegations. If you go around just accusing people, then some of those people could very well be innocent. And, we've seen men be the victim of false allegations all over the country, especially in regards to rape. The University of Virginia case, then there was Mattress Girl at Columbia. There was the Duke lacrosse team. The Virginia case was through the Rolling Stone magazine, by the way. That was the Jackie thing, and just all over you can look, and even on like the average person level, like a lot of average men are accused of sex after or of rape after either regret sex or they're trying to get out of trouble. There's been reports of people in the military, women in the military showing up late and then they say, oh, I was raped, when really they were just having sex and they're trying to get out of it. Of, of course, there are still rapes that actually happen and things like that. So, but false allegations are a big deal. And even being accused, even not even being convicted, you can like lose your job. You can, some people commit suicide. Some people they get kicked out of school, and even after they're found innocent, well, not guilty, I should say, they still aren't allowed back in school. So, and there's still a lot of times they still don't get their job back. So, I think the public perception of them doesn't change back to what it was. So, for Pizzagate researchers, I would hope that you guys look at consider that. And from what I've seen, Pizzagate researchers investigators have been trying to be careful. But on the men's rights subreddit, I will say Pizzagate's getting censored for now. And, Reddit in general has been censoring it, so it's understandable, but just because the men's rights subreddit is censoring it doesn't mean that men's rights activists aren't getting involved. People like me are involved. I'm not necessarily on the forefront of all the research, but I do a lot of respreading information. I've done some, recruiting of investigators. I try to get people who aren't involved, or even some people haven't even heard of it, and then I get them up to speed on what's going on. I show them where they can get future information, and then a lot of times they go and do their own thing from there. So that's kind of my niche in this. So I don't plan on stopping until there's some sort of final investigation here, and I think we can see. I think there will be something that comes out in the near future. With Milo Yiannopoulos, he said that he was going to cover it, and then some DC area codes gave him a call, said Not yet. So, what do you mean not yet? It seems to be that there's some information, some sort of, I would say probably investigation going on in the background. Um, so, anyways, I want it on record, even though some places where men's rights activists gather, and even though some men's rights activists take the stance of, this is a witch hunt, a lot of men's rights activists are involved, and um, even though men's rights activists who aren't as involved or they're against it, they're they have a worry about false accusations, so that is getting involved in their own way. And personally, I think we need to carry on and just be careful. So, um, let's not get caught up if there's some false flag situations that shouldn't deter us. Uh, and we, it's most important to have a high standard so that if false, flags happen, like some think the gunman in Comet Ping Pong think that was a false flag. I think there's some good evidence for that. This, the government has a history of trying to undercut the credibility of movements by planting, you know, people, agents in, and then having them act out and making the whole movement look bad. But what really made me happy is as soon as the shooting happened, all these different groups came together, all, and not just groups but individuals came together, because they're not well organized. These are individuals acting on their own. They came together and they all, denounced it. Like, I'm watching the the biggest personalities, and they're all denouncing it. So, and then it wasn't until after that, when more evidence was gained that, this guy was an actor, and then he has an IMDb page, and there was a camera was moved, and the camera was half covered up by something, could have been a flagpole or something like that. Like, I've heard the ATF, or the father has a connection to the ATF, so um, these are the kinds of things that make it look like a false flag. So having the high standard and having credibility going into these false flags, like I think Pizzagate does have, um, it helps deter, some of these attacks. Because I know a lot of the public hasn't bought into that Pizzagate is a negative movement that's causing all sorts of harm. They're looking more at it like, even if this guy was crazy or whatever and did a thing, and did like go in for a shooting and stuff, um, which, I mean, we know he actually shot and things like, but there are no casualties or anything. Um, it's not because of Pizzagate. It's one crazy guy that acted on his own. And we can't necessarily expect this to happen again in the future. So, um, anyways, I hope Pizzagate researchers keep up the good work, keep doing what they're doing, keep the high standards up, and if you are a men's rights activist, or even if you're not and you're into other things, uh, I would encourage you to get involved if you're not. And you can always private message me on Reddit, although you have, the administrators can see that stuff, and Reddit's tied to the Clinton Foundation and things like that. But and they've been censoring it all, so take the risk if you want. But you can message me on YouTube or wherever and ask for me to send you privately all the information. I'm perfectly willing to do that. I'm I don't think there's a big worry about, unless you're one of the famous people that, one of the people that is at the head of cracking a lot of good information, then they're not going to go after you. There's so many people involved in this that killing someone, or something like that, would only make the movement bigger, and it would, and like, if you're not at the top, you're not a big deal, basically. So someone like me, they would never come after. But even guys like David Seaman, um, they're trying to erase him from the internet, and they're taking down his YouTube videos. They're taking down his Wikipedia page, but and trying to discredit him. But other than that, you know, if he wound up dead or something like that, which hopefully that doesn't happen, but if he did, the internet would erupt. The movement would just erupt. This whole, Pizzagate would become a worldwide sensation even more than it is now. And the powers that be that would want to try to silence it would only be doing the opposite. So by getting involved, you're also helping protect those people at the top. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can like and subscribe if you'd like. And go Trump. Make America great again.